In January of this year, I set out to draw my dog every day with the goal of beginning to grow the skills of a professional illustrator, starting from no formal training, never really making an effort to grow my art skills before this. In this video, I'm going to talk about where my progress is at now. At this point, I have been drawing for over 290 days straight, and I hope to show the progress I've made and the difference it has made to draw every day. I also am going to talk about my goals throughout the year, and finally I'm going to talk about what I think have been the biggest difference makers in my progress. And as a reminder, if you like stuff like this and want to see my progress as I grow, please remember to like and subscribe. Thanks. Alright, to start things off, I'm going to show you 5 things. And just a word of warning, I use different mics to film different parts of this video, so I apologize in advance that it sounds different throughout. First of all, just for reference, this is my dog. Hi, dog. The second thing is this drawing I did, or a couple drawings I did of my dog. I don't know exactly when I did these, but they were way before this year, sometime in 2023 or maybe even in 2022. I think I might have been looking at a picture for this one, and then I think the other ones I was just generally trying to remember what my dog looked like. So that's gives you a sense of how I was drawing my dog before I started this project. And the third thing is this drawing from January of this year. So this gives you a good sense of me trying to do a really good drawing in January this year. And then number 4, this is a drawing I did at the beginning of this month for the Inktober challenge, and another drawing where I was like really trying to give like a really concerted effort. In both this drawing and the last drawing that I showed from January, I was looking at a picture of my dog in both of those. And I'm actually going to show one more just because I like it and I think it shows kind of where I'm at now. This drawing I did like kind of a week ago-ish. And this one was like with no reference, with the exception that I was looking at a general picture of a pika, but there's not a pika in real life that I could find doing this. So the rest of it is just me kind of making it up as I go. These 5 things, I guess 4 drawing, gives you some sense really quickly of my progress over the last year, but I'll take a little bit more time in the rest of this video to talk through what I was focusing on at different times, show you a couple more drawings throughout the year, and what I believe has helped along the way. So I think maybe the most helpful place to start with all this is what have been my goals and strategy throughout this year. My first goal was really focused on just drawing every day with minimal focus on learning. Minimal learning. That says minimal learning. If you've watched almost any of my other videos, you'll know that I have a full-time job and I have young kids and busy family life that we really enjoy, and I'm not trying to mess all that up because I want to learn to draw. And that meant I did not put a lot of pressure on myself to do really good drawings or to even draw for a really long period of time. Just as some quick examples, so a lot of my drawings in this, part of the year, which I would say was probably at the very least January through March, so at least 3 months of the year. So I had a lot of drawings that I would say were kind of like crap drawings, but these are just like, I'm going to draw something for like 3 minutes or 60 seconds without picking up my pen, kind of exercises, and sometimes that would be all I would do for that day. Once I had really established a good habit and routine of drawing every day, my goals shifted to now I really wanted to try and make good finished drawings and really focus more on learning the fundamentals. By finished drawings, I just mean instead of just sketching something out quickly and kind of leaving it as a sketch, more examples of me, adding more elements of illustration and they look more finished. They look like, okay, someone intended for this end result. It's not just a sketch of something. And then I started trying to think through visual storytelling also. And so I think I'd add that to what I was trying to work on. And so I started doing sketches ahead of time for ideas that I wanted. And this was like my dog is a superhero. And these are all, as you can see, like individual days that I was just like, okay, here's one quick drawing, or I don't know how quick it was, but here's one drawing, here's another drawing, and so that's all I did for that day. It's not like I sketched all these out and drew what ended up being my finished drawings all in the same day. This was like, I don't know, it was over a week, I think. So this was the first finished one in that series. And then I did one more. Here's another one, telling a story again. Hopefully that story makes sense. This one I really like. I think for like real, true visual storytelling, there's a lot of elements that are missing from most of these. This one's probably the most, like, there's a clear story here. But these all are like, hey, that looks like an interesting character. Anyway, so you get the idea, and then was trying to think through some composition and storytelling elements during this phase of my goals, which really I think was like April-ish till probably just now, really. Oh, there's another one. That one's pretty good. And then now we get to this month where I've really transitioned to trying to build out a portfolio. And what I don't mean is that I now have learned everything I need to learn and that my skill level is portfolio ready. What I do mean is that I want to start getting really clear on what portfolio ready means and really start focusing my learning and my practice on being portfolio ready and trying to create work that, you know, could one day go into a portfolio. And it might take me a year or 3 years, 5 years, you know, like it could take me a really long time to get to where my skills are up to that level, where I think like, okay, this really should go in a portfolio. But I think if I haven't defined those goals, then I'm not going to practice the things that, you know, make something portfolio ready. But I want to like really focus on like, what's my end goal, and focus my drawings and my learning on building my portfolio. And my goals for my portfolio, I've decided, are going to be focused on children's book illustrations. I would like to be able to do more than children's books in the future, but I think if I can get to a level where I'm really excited about the work I'm doing that could go into a children's book and like have that level of competence in the skills that I would need for that, then I would be really, really excited. And I think that would be outstanding foundations to branch out and start working on other mediums, you know, whether it's like comics or whatever. But what I have been doing is thinking through like, what are the artists that I really, really love their work? Bill Watterson, Dan Santat, and Matt Otley, who are fantastic artists. And if you're not familiar with them, this is Dan Santat. And what I have decided after thinking about these three artists' work, what I think they really capture really well is figures. So it doesn't have to be humans, but of course including human colors and composition. And within figures is like, I think they're masters at gesture, but that really helps me to focus my efforts on what I'm trying to learn. Because instead of just saying like, okay, I want to master all the elements of illustration, I can focus on figure drawing, color, and composition. And I think always wrapped into anything I'm trying to learn is visual storytelling. And so the last thing I want to talk about is if I had to pick the most important things that I think have made a difference in my drawings throughout this year, I would say 1, learning to make basic shapes in 3D, 2, proportions, 3, basic shading and lighting. By basic shapes in 3D, what I mean is that you can look at a picture of my dog and say, hey, okay, that's my dog. Man, I'm bad at drawing his feet. But if you can break down my dog into his basic shapes, like he's really this rectangle here, like this, and there's a square on top of that rectangle. I guess a rectangle up here, like a square here too, like that. If you can get those basic shapes broken down, now you can start adding more three-dimensional elements to him so that he looks more three-dimensional, because now I can put his nose kind of on this plane, and I know that this part of his nose is on the side. I know that this eye over here is going to be farther away than this eye. I know that he has to have some kind of distinctives in the way his head is shaped because part of it is angling away. And while this looks very messy, hopefully you get the idea that I want to have this leg on this side of the rectangle, and the other leg has to be coming from the other side of the rectangle, and then his chest actually kind of protrudes through there. And what, as messy as this is, when you're done, you end up with this more structurally clear looking representation of my dog. So So this was obviously very quick and relatively terrible, but hopefully that makes sense that if you block in the three-dimensional shapes, then you have structure to wrap, his body around. Number 2, proportions. And by proportion, I mean looking at a reference photo like this and saying, okay, his nose is about that big when I hold my arm out straight, and his head is roughly 1-2 nose lengths. So I go here and say, well, I've made his nose this big. I just know he needs to be roughly 1-2. And if he looks all wonky, one of the first things I look at is making sure that I have those kinds of measurements correct. Number 3, basic shading and lighting. By basic shading and lighting, what I mean is this idea of local tone, which is like a fancy way of saying devoid of any like shadow or anything, this box would look all the same color on every single side. So just understanding that as one concept. Local tone. 2, pick a light source and just say, okay, light is going to come from like this side to the front. This is my sun. So picking a location for your light source and saying, okay, so it's a little bit low, so the top of this structure, this box is going to be a little bit darker, and then the farthest side away is going to be a lot darker. And then add shadow. Obviously on the side opposite of the light, you want to think about the lines that the lighting is coming at, and so just pick some lines and just be consistent with where the shadow is going to be drawn. And just once you kind of draw any shadow lines, you just want to keep them consistent. If you draw other shadows, you want to keep all those lines consistent, but adds some more quality to a drawing than not having these elements. So these are the things that I think made a big difference in the quality of my drawings over this year as I learned them. If there are skills or processes that have made a big difference in your artwork, I would love it if you let me know in the comments. I think my next big progress video will be really 2 months from now at the end of December when I conclude this project, and I'm excited to see, hopefully there's additional progress that I'll be able to see in my work even then. So looking forward to that one. If you're interested in seeing other videos from different points in this year where I deep dive progress I was making at the time, or lessons that I was learning throughout this process, please click on one of the videos on the screen. Thanks for watching.